Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about arcades. Sadly, I was part of the generation that grew up just as arcades began to die out. In fact, I can count the amount of arcade machine experience I had growing up on one hand, so that's not many, is it? Home consoles have brought the arcade experience to your doorstep, so the appeal to go out and spend a pound of your pocket money at the arcade has just been lost in the younger generation. In my adult life, however, I have learned to love arcade machines. This is why I was so happy to hear that a local arcade was opening just down the road in Warrington called Retro Arcade. Now Retro Arcade is right around the corner from Warrington Central Station, so it's easy for travel, and in terms of cost, it's well worth the money as well. You pay £8, you get your stamp, and you can play all day. That's definitely a lot cheaper than what you would have spent in the 90s, let me tell you. For anyone a little bit more impatient, or whoever already can't stand the sound of my voice, we're going to go on a quick tour of Retro Arcade, just to give you a general sense of the retro theme of the building, and just see what games are available as well. For the rest of the video, I am going to go a bit more in depth, so don't worry if something seems to have passed you by so far. I actually filmed every single game related item in the place, so by the end of the video, you're bound to see whatever it was again for sure. The arcade may not look huge at the moment, but bear in mind this is literally the second day it's been open that I'm filming, and as far as I'm concerned, all that extra space is only a good thing because just think about all them new arcade machines that can be added. If I could have had a birthday party here as a kid, it would be a memory that I'd never forget. And even just looking back at this footage right now, I can tell you now, I genuinely can't wait to go back there, to be honest. I just want to mention that all the staff and the owner Richard were really welcoming and just as enthusiastic about the arcade as everyone who was visiting it. I think that's really important when you're looking at a new place that's opening up. The golden age of the arcades was the 1980s. Home consoles could not compete with the quality of arcade games that were being released, and the only way to experience them was to spend some serious pound coins at local arcades. This was a huge industry back in the day. Sadly, I didn't grow up in this era of gaming, but I'm really grateful that now I get to go back and experience these classic games that I just never had a chance to when I was younger. You can see the love that has went into the design of these cabinets, and it's just something to behold. The machine draws you in before you've even seen the gameplay, and the controls are just so unique and, to be honest, very strange to a modern gamer. It's no surprise that a lot of these games are still household names all around the world today. The likes of Space Invaders, Dig Dug and Donkey Kong are the cornerstone of any arcade that's worth buying a credit for. Classic platform games in arcades tend to be a lot more action based than console games, like Super Mario Bros. For instance. Wonder Boy is one of my favourites, but I think people will be more familiar with Super Nintendo adaptation, Super Adventure Island. Coincidentally, that's one of my favourite SNES games as well. Also, I've had Rollin' Thunder recommended to me so many different times by different YouTubers over the years, I had to give it a go, and after playing it, I can say it's a great game and it definitely suits this action style these older arcade games have. We'd have to be crazy to forget about Pac-Man. This was one of the biggest games in the world at one point, and you can see why. It's got a lot of spin-offs and it made a huge impact on the world of gaming. All that being said though, that doesn't mean I'm any good at playing it whatsoever. Multiplayer games are always good, but Marble Madness might surprise you. I don't know how the creator managed to pitch this game because it's just a ball rolling around, but it's actually really good. The controls are slippy though, so be careful you don't lose your marbles, okay? I did a whole episode about Golden Axe, so you should know how much you love that game by now. And when it comes to Gauntlet, if you can get enough people to play the game at the same time, then you're bound to have a good time for sure. See what I did there? For sure. It's a 4-player game. Okay, let's move on. Driving games have a lot of appeal in arcades. They're the third thing that a lot of people end up steering towards, and they might be the most interesting looking cabinets as well. Whether it's sit down or stand up, you'll have to ride your life. There's a lot of variety when it comes to these machines, and I think that's why people become such big fans and end up just making a lap of all the driving games available in arcades. Whether you're looking to relive your favourite racing film, or you just want to have the arcade experience of driving a Ferrari or something, these games have got you covered. It's crazy to see how many driving games Sega actually released for the arcades, and what a great segue that was to talk about Crazy Taxi, a true Sega classic. Both the Dreamcast game and arcade machine are infamous, and I'm sure people are going to enjoy giving this one a spin. Continuing onwards in the Sega direction, I've been told that Super Monaco GP is actually the rarest machine you have here at Retro Arcade. It's got a working hydraulic system underneath the seat, and that moves whenever you turn the car. Apparently it's one of only 2 in the country, so it's definitely worth checking out. Sega Rally is a game that a lot of people are going to be familiar with because of its success with the Sega Saturn. People really enjoy going off-road with this one. The same can be said for Super Hang-On, which was actually a launch game with a Sega Mega Drive. The controller's a real switch of gears though, I'm not gonna lie. Another game that made this arcade to console transition is Manx Tt. This game is based on a brutal speed racing event in the Isle of Man, which by coincidence is the same place that I got my Bronze Duke of Edinburgh, and I think I'm a lot more suited to that than being on this motorbike, or in all honesty playing any racing game for that matter. When I get to grips with them, it's like driving Miss Daisy, except she dies. I'm sure another SF game will be coming to Retro Arcade down the line, but for the opening weekend, they kicked off with a unique twist: Street Fighter vs X-Men. I remember playing this on a chip PS1 back in the day. The gameplay just looks so sick, it's very fast paced, it just makes you want to stand back and watch it like a cartoon, let alone actually play it. There's more than meets the eye when it comes to fighting games. Strategy is key. Well, that and button mashing anyway. With that in mind, you might be surprised to hear that Karate Champ is actually one of my favourite arcade games. This was brought out the same year as Karate Kid, and you won't be shocked by that. I mean, just look at it. You can't wax on, wax off, but this was a big game for one-on-one fighters, and I highly recommend it. If you're after something more modern, then Retro Arcade have you covered. Tekken 5 is a PS2 classic that packs a real punch, but for me, Tekken Tag is the one which more people are going to have fonder memories with and be a bit more excited about. The arcade cabinet looks amazing, and the gameplay is so great. Swapping characters mid-game makes for really exciting endings, and it gets very intense. If it's ever too much for you, you can always tag in a friend, can't you? The only real arcade experience I had growing up were mainly with shooting games. It's because of this that the likes of House of the Dead and Time Crisis 3 are welcome additions to Retro Arcade in my eyes. I've actually got some history of House of the Dead. When I was growing up, one of my best mates, Dale, had his 13th birthday in a Mega Bowl. Does anyone remember that place? Anyway, it had a House of the Dead cabinet, and I remember Dale spent his entire birthday money here in a one day just so we could complete the campaign. Good day for me, really bad day for Dale's birthday money. There was some classic shooters here as well that I'm not as familiar with: Operation Thunderbolt, Lethal Enforcers, and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Sadly, I didn't get a chance to play these, but I'll be back. Do you get it? Terminator? Anyone? I need to stop doing this. It's only over the past year or two that I've had any real experience with pinball machines. Well, besides the old Windows Galaxy pinball anyway. They seem to be a pinball machine for absolutely everything. The design that goes into these machines is incredible. I'm far from being a decent player at them, but I can definitely see the appeal of these things, and it's no wonder why people come from far and wide to play them either. What I have struggled with in the past in terms of appeal are rhythm games. I must be the only person and the absolute minority though, because Guitar Hero was a massive success. I remember when it first came out and I thought it was just a gimmick that would be short-lived, but these days it's even had its own South Park episode and everything. You can't go near an arcade without seeing a Dance Dance Revolution machine. It seems that this has been the most popular arcade game of my lifetime, and if you were its creator, you would definitely have something to dance about, let me tell you. On a side note, Retro Arcade has its own jukebox that you can change the tracks on whenever you like for free, a price which I'm sure is music to everyone's ears. One of my favourite things in Retro Arcade was the console corner. As I said at the beginning of the video, there's a lot of people that grew up without arcades, but those people still love gaming. I think that retro gaming fits the arcade perfectly, and I just think this whole setup looks amazing. It's inviting to any gamer. I know that Sai from Super Nerds Gaming is going to love this, an original Xbox standee. This thing was amazing. Does that TV look familiar to anyone? Well, it's a Bang & Olufsen. It's the same one I got in my game room and the one I made a whole episode about, so you're getting the most authentic experience of these retro games that you possibly can. Retro Arcade has a bar that offers food, drink and alcohol as well, but just remember kids, winners don't use drugs, alright? The seating area is a real throwback and it adds to the feeling this place gives you of just going through a time machine. The whole arcade has a sci-fi feel about it, and there's a lot of little touches which show real labour of love as went into this place. Richard, the owner, is a great guy. He's really passionate about making this arcade the best it can be, and since filming this he's added these classic machines to the library as well. Overall, I just can't recommend this place enough. Hopefully I've represented the Warrington arcade well, and I honestly feel like this place deserves our support. I'm definitely going to be making future visits. Anyway, thank you for watching the video everyone. Until next time, peace.